Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Sarah Burkhart, and I'm delighted to join you from Queensland, Australia, as the moderator for this webinar. We have gathered today for the launch of the School Food Global Hub. As you will hear shortly, the Hub serves as an exchange platform and database for various target groups, including school staff, practitioners, policymakers, parliamentarians, youth, researchers, UN agencies, international organisations, and others. As a researcher in the area of school food and nutrition in the Pacific Islands and as chair of the newly formed Pacific School Food Network, I'm particularly excited for the launch of the School Food Global Hub and to hear about the opportunities to share and learn from one another. We have an exciting and informative event planned. We're going to start our webinar with a welcome from two speakers. In session one, we will hear more about the Hub from Mrs. Fatima Hashem and Mr. Edward Lloyd Evans. In session two, Michelle Dura and Melissa Vargas will present the features of the School Food Global Hub. We will then have 10 minutes for question and answer time, and follow this with session 4, where we have 4 speakers who will present on the use of the School Food Global Hub. Before we get started, a couple of reminders. This webinar is held in English. If you would like to listen in French or Spanish, please access the live interpretation by clicking on the interpretation button on the bottom of your Zoom window. This webinar provides not only an opportunity to learn about the School Food Global Hub, but also for you to provide feedback and comments. You will have the opportunity to provide any comments and feedback at points throughout the webinar, but we also encourage you to add any comments or questions that you might have in the Q&A box throughout the presentations. And you can access the Q&A box at the bottom of your Zoom window. With that, I would like to introduce our first speaker, Tanya Gren, who will be providing a welcome and opening statement. Tanya serves as permanent representative of Finland to FAO, WFP, and IFAD. She has worked for the Ministry for Foreign Affairs of Finland for 20 years, serving in different positions in Helsinki and abroad. Before being posted to Rome, she worked as a team leader in the Unit for Sustainable Development and Climate Policy at the Ministry for Foreign Affairs of Finland. Thank you for joining us today, Tanya, and please start when you're ready.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Excellencies, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. I am delighted to welcome you all to this virtual event to launch the School Food Global Knowledge Hub, supported by the German Federal Ministry of Food and Agriculture and implemented jointly by FAO and WFP. The Knowledge Hub is expected to support the peer-to-peer exchange under the School Meals Coalition, which was launched at the United Nations Food Systems Summit in September last year, under the leadership of Finland and France. The School Meals Coalition is a government-led initiative and was created out of the need to invest in solutions that work and that would help us build back better from the COVID-19 pandemic. Members of the coalition, countries and partners agreed to work together to improve the quality, sustainability and scale of national school meals programs and complementary interventions. The final goal of the coalition is that every child has the opportunity to receive a healthy, nutritious daily meal in school by 2030. To date, already 67 countries and 69 partners have joined the coalition and committed themselves to work towards these objectives. They will do so by restoring effective school meal programs and repair what was lost during the pandemic, and by reaching the most vulnerable in low and lower middle income countries that were not being reached even before the pandemic, and by improving the quality and efficiency of existing school meals programs in all countries, and by ensuring that nutrition-sensitive approaches are linked to nutrition education and other health interventions. The School Meals Coalition will only be effective if its goals and objectives are championed at national levels. This is why governments are encouraged to work on national targets and plans to turn commitments into action. Through these commitments, a lot of powerful pledges have been formulated and initial progress has been made at country level. For instance, in Rwanda, President Paul Kagame committed to achieve universal coverage of school feeding for basic education, including sustaining the recent expansion and scale-up of school feeding programs across all levels of basic education, from 640,000 children in 2020 to 3.3 million children in 2021. In Benin, President Patrice Talon has just announced a national budget commitment of $270 million over the next 5 years to scale up their national program. And in Senegal, President Macky Sall was the first to sign the Declaration of Commitment and instructed his finance minister to allocate $2.5 million to school feeding for 2022. The coalition is supported by initiatives which are designed to help member states with the successful implementation and scale up of school meals programs by focusing on overcoming bottlenecks. 3 of these initiatives have already been launched. A research consortium is led by the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. It promotes credible and independent research to inform evidence-based decision-making on school health and nutrition. A sustainable financing initiative is led by the Education Commission. This initiative maps and addresses the inefficiencies of current school health and nutrition funding arrangements and finds innovative financing solutions to enable low and lower middle-income countries to become more self-reliant. A data and monitoring initiative is led by WFP. Its objective is to create a database that systematically collects, stores, and curates and makes open and accessible in-time data on national school meals, school health, and nutrition. A 4th initiative is being designed at the moment, the peer-to-peer initiative, which will help countries and partners share their experience, lessons learned, and best practices with each other. The Knowledge Hub is an important step in this regard. We are seeing a huge momentum within the coalition. This is needed now more than ever. Today, we are facing an even more difficult scenario than just a few months ago. Child poverty and malnutrition are now coupled with a global food crisis, which is made worse by the increase of food prices all over the world. Too many children are now returning to underfunded school systems with the disadvantages of increased poverty and hunger. The result is a once-in-a-generation set of conditions which are creating devastating reversals in the health and well-being of our children. Urgent actions are needed from all of us to significantly improve the socioeconomic, health, and nutrition status of children. School meals programs can be one of those solutions. The ambition is that through the Knowledge Hub, countries and partners will be able to share evidence, best practices, and lessons learned to enhance the global dialogue around the need and potential of improving the quality of school food and food education, and therefore strengthen school programs around the world. I am looking forward to the exchanges that will take place around the Knowledge Hub and wish us all a successful launch event today. Thank you very much. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Tanya, for your welcome and opening remarks. It's inspiring to hear all of the progress you've shared, but also noting the challenges that you've mentioned as well, and how you see the role of the hub in that. So thank you again for sharing your time. Our next speaker is Ms. Doris Herberle, who will also provide a welcome and opening statement. Ms. Herberle heads the Directorate Nutrition of the Federal Ministry of Food and Agriculture. Prior to this position, she has held various positions within the ministry. Her previous activities have included, among others, heading the Planning and Strategy Division and the Division for Bilateral Agricultural Projects. She has also been engaged in consumer policy issues. Thank you for joining us today, Ms. Herberle, and please go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you very much. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, and fellow colleagues, I'm really delighted that today we can celebrate the start of the School Food Global Hub. The intense discussions around the UN Food System Summit in last year highlighted very clearly that healthy and sustainable school nutrition is extremely important, because for many children, school meals are an essential part of the daily diet. Before COVID-19 pandemic, every second school children received a meal at school. Due to the pandemic, the number has drastically decreased. This is alarming because school feeding programs have played an essential role in a social security system. And in addition, the school cafeteria is an important place to learn about healthy and sustainable nutrition. This is our challenge: the need to re-establish access to healthy, sustainable, and delicious school meals. In this context, it is also particularly important to analyze what are the requirements for school food, how nutrition education is structured, and what sustainable school feeding system consists of. Shortly, this is a matter of putting words into action. The School Meals Coalition is a key element in this endeavor because, as the previous speaker emphasized, it helps us bring the activities of different stakeholders from governments, international organizations, science, and civil society together under one joint roof. Initially, one of the goals of the German government set itself was to establish an exchange of experiences between stakeholders at national level, addressing the administration of different countries. In the structure of the School Meals Coalition, this is referred to as peer-to-peer community of best practices. However, the last year has also shown us that it's very seldom possible to see international, national, and local challenges and activities separately from one another, and that many different organizations and institutions are active in this field. It is therefore different stakeholders rather than just the national governments who are the really peers. And this is what we want to build on with the School Food Global Hub, which is Germany financing. The hub is part of a project which also lays the foundations for developing national dietary guidelines on school meals. The pilot countries, Ghana and Cambodia, serve as examples. The hub is also intended to be used to make knowledge gained available to a broad audience, because it is important that everyone in charge have access to this information. We think it's not acceptable that, for example, large distances or limited financial resources prevent us from exchanging ideas. Your questions in your work may be, what experience are gained in my neighboring country and what measures were successfully implemented? Or which institutions may I contact if I have questions on the national activities in a specific country? Are there research findings that support my work? Or has any international organization developed recommendations or guidelines that would assist me? The hub, built up by FAU and WFP can answer these vital questions and greatly simplify your research. Essential information and publication focusing on the quality of school meals, on nutrition education, are collected in one place and supplemented by the links to other sources of information. And there is one decisive key to success in this regard, and this is you. Be active and seize the opportunities the hub offers to you. Discover what information is provided. Consider whether you have created yourself publications or have information that could be disseminated through the hub, and make the hub known. For example, also point out this new source of information to your colleagues, because everyone who works on school nutrition and nutrition education can regard themselves as part of this peer-to-peer community of best practices. And our aim is for the School Food Global Hub to create an exchange of experience within this large community. The hub will also show you information you're particularly interested in and what other area stakeholders have particular expertise, or where it could be worthwhile to take a second glance to have an in-depth exchange on a bilateral or trilateral or multilateral level. In my opinion, this is beneficial because on the one hand, we cannot want to develop activities without knowing your needs and your interests. And it is good to see your commitment and your willingness for more exchange and cooperation through the active use of the hub. To conclude, I would like to say once again, join in, take part, use the School Food Global Hub also to help achieve the goal of the School Meals Coalition. That is, that by 2030, every child should have the possibility of having a meal at school every day, and to play your part in reducing global hunger and malnutrition. Today could be an excellent start. You will learn more about the hub and how it works, can ask questions, and against this background, I'm very much looking to the next speakers and wish you all a productive event. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hebeli, for your opening remarks and welcome. You've highlighted some of the major challenges we face in light of COVID-19 and the need for working together. And as you've mentioned, the School Meals Coalition and the School Food Global Hub plays a really important role in exchanging ideas, and that we all need to collectively come together and make use of that by sharing our own learnings as we go. So thank you again, both Tanya and Doris, for your opening comments. We're going to move now to session 1 to learn a little bit more about the hub. We have 2 speakers within this session, and the first speaker that I would like to introduce is Ms. Fatima Hashem. So Fatima is the Nutrition Education and Consumer Awareness Team Leader in the Food and Nutrition Division of FAO. Previously, she was the Regional Food and Nutrition Officer in the FAO Regional Office for the Near East and North Africa, where she served the 19 member countries in this region in different areas of nutrition, food security, and food safety, and was involved in developing national capacity, policy advice, drafting analytical reports, formulating projects, and providing technical backstopping. Thank you very much, Fatima, and please start when you're ready.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Doris and Tanya. You made my task much easier. So as Sarah said, my name is Fatima Hashem, and I'm the team leader of the group working on nutrition education and consumer awareness at FAO headquarters room. And this project that Doris has referred to is actually in our unit, and I would be happy to give you some background to the hub, as Doris has given quite a lot of information about its use or what we want it to become. So I will reiterate that this hub that we're launching today is the result of a joint collaboration between FAO and WFP, and is part of a project that is funded by the German Federal Ministry of Food and Agriculture. So the idea of the hub started following a survey that FAO undertook in 33 low and middle income countries on nutrition guidelines and standards for school meals. In that survey, we realized that countries do not have clarity on the best process to follow in order to develop national nutrition guidelines and standards for school meals, and that there's no internationally recognized methodology to do so. So that was a very important gap that we needed to address. In addition to that, through our work to develop a new vision for effective school-based food and nutrition education, we found out that obtaining information about what countries do in terms of food and nutrition education was extremely difficult. It took us a lot of time to find information, and it was a very lengthy process. So the need to have a knowledge hub to make it easy for countries, practitioners, and researchers to have a one-stop shop, as Doris has mentioned, where information about school food and nutrition education and school meals and nutrition guidelines is available and accessible to all, became very clear to us. There's a need, and there's an urgent need to address it. So this is how the school hub idea originated. We validated the idea with a wider consultative group composed of representatives of UNICEF, WHO, UNESCO, and other organizations with a long experience in school and food and nutrition programs, and started working on the structure of the hub. Of course, during as the idea of the School Meals Coalition was taking shape during all of last year, we were also thinking about our hub. And we started a discussion with our partners, WFP and the German Federal Ministry of Food and Agriculture, on how this hub could serve the coalition, and in particular, the peer-to-peer initiative of the coalition that is led by Germany. We all agreed on the need to enlarge the scope of the food hub from its initial focus on nutrition guidelines and food and nutrition education to make it a hub at the service of countries to share experiences about additional aspects of school meals programs. We also agreed that the hub will not and should not duplicate what other initiatives or organizations are doing. On the contrary, we agreed that the hub should link to the databases and initiatives on school meals and school food and nutrition programs that exist or are in the planning, and make them accessible to viewers of our hub through direct links. So this is the case, for example, of some regional initiatives of school meals like in Latin America and also in the Pacific. The food hub will link to them and will not replace them. The same is true for case studies that the hub will link to. For example, the Research Consortium, which is another initiative under the School Meals Coalition, will produce case studies, and our hub will link to them. These are some of our guiding principles for the food hub: visibility for all initiatives, no redundancies, and best use of resources to make sharing of information useful to all. We want children to have access to healthy diets, to nutritious food. We want them to stay in school. We want them to thrive. So information sharing is really an important underpinning activity for all that. So today we are launching the hub, but in its initial format. So we will be presenting to you its current features, but what we want to hear from you is what additional features you think we need to include in it so it serves countries in the best way. So We are looking forward for your feedback, for your inputs during this session and after this session. And I thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Fatima, for your overview of the hub. I think having that background really highlights the importance of this resource, doesn't it, in understanding where that has come from. So thank you very much for setting the scene for us. Our second speaker for this session is Mr. Edward Lloyd Evans. Edward is the Head of Research, Evidence and Policy for the School-Based Program Division at the United Nations World Food Programme. He works with a diverse range of partners, including governments and intergovernmental agencies, donors, multilaterals, academia, and NGOs to fill the knowledge and evidence gaps in school meals programs. Edward leads World Food Programme's flagship report, the State of School Feeding Worldwide publication, and the initiative of the School Meals Coalition on Data and Monitoring. Thank you, Edward, for giving up your time today to join us, and please go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you so much, Sarah, and thank you, Fatima. A good day, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. I'm really delighted to be here today to discuss this important launch of the Knowledge Hub. It is an important endeavor for WFP, as well as a joint project, as Fatima highlighted, in this area. Let me start by saying there is really strong global evidence around the need for school meals and its benefits across various sectors. We see investments of more than $45 billion in school meals programs, and these make up a substantial part of governments' budgets worldwide. We see governments spending upwards of 90% of their funding is actually driven by their domestic funds. Clearly, these significant investments reflect the growing recognition on the returns of school meals across programs in terms of human capital, social protection, local economies. We see it in sectors as in health, in agriculture, in social protection, and in education, just to name a few. It is therefore evident that governments see the need for essential and up-to-date, reliable data and information, so that they can understand and optimize their programs and help them to track progress, but also to make decisions, right? To inform their decision making. So the work that we're doing with the Hub, this next generation of school meals programs, is to contribute to the sustainable food systems and to ensure, as Permanent Representative Gren said, and as Ms. Doris Heberly said, is to ensure that children receive healthy and nutritious meals, right? So this joint project is really doing exactly that. It is aiming to provide children with the nutritious meals and diets they need to learn and thrive. As a result, we've heard about the School Meals Coalition and how it's mobilizing leaders across the world to scale up these programs, especially in poor countries, to respond to poverty, hunger, and education crisis caused by the pandemic, and we're seeing it in other crises that are unfolding. As we've heard, 68 countries are now members, 69 partner organizations have joined, and we've also heard about the 5 initiatives of the School Meals Coalition and what it aims to drive the 3 objectives of the School Meals Coalition. One of those initiatives I want to talk about briefly is the Data and Monitoring Initiative, which is established to improve the availability of quality data on national school meals worldwide and to institutionalize those efforts going forward. So such data on school meals and complementary activities will serve as a measure on progress against the objectives of the coalition, while enabling stakeholders and to share and exchange information, which the Knowledge Hub will provide. We know we have gaps in terms of research, in terms of best practices, to inform policy, to inform quality and cost effectiveness of programs. Therefore, such an initiative, the Knowledge Hub, and all existing efforts that are underway as part of the Food System Summit, of which the Schoolmates Coalition was born, will be formalized to institutionalize these within the United Nations as a formal area of work, that the United Nations will track and report in fora like the high-level political forum, etc. More is needed, certainly, in filling global gaps in the knowledge. We have seen a lot of progress made over the decade, but certainly we know more is needed. So as a community of researchers, policymakers, and practitioners, we have the responsibility to document, to trace, to house, and make available as global public goods knowledge so that countries can use information to improve their programs and provide adequate support to vulnerable children. How will we do this? One, by connecting people, learning from experiences, improving access to information and documents, retaining the knowledge, creating good practices and innovation. And we'll hear a bit more about that from Professor Don Bundy a bit later. The World Food Programme, as the UN leading agency on school feeding, has therefore played important roles both as a partner and as a catalyst for policy and program change. And together with partners, we are making sure that we take deliberate steps to strengthen and make clearly defined roles in the future in this area of work. It is therefore essential that we continue our hard work and in contributing to changes in policy and programs and to building the knowledge in low-income countries and across countries to help strengthen and accelerate government-led efforts. I wish us all a great and productive discussion today, and I'll turn back over to you, Sarah.
Thank you very much, Edward, and again, Fatima, for your overview of the hub and setting the scene for the role of this going forward. I think you've both really helped to build some excitement, and everyone is probably now keen to see some more of the hub features that we know are there. So with that, we will move to our next session, and I'd like to welcome Ms. Michelle Dura and Ms. Melissa Vargas, who are going to provide more information about the features of the School Food Global Hub. Michelle is currently the technical lead on school health and nutrition activities in the school-based program division of the United Nations World Food Programme. She supports and works in collaboration with country offices and regional bureaus to deliver high-quality school meals programs. Melissa is a technical advisor at FAO and has been working in the Food and Nutrition Division at FAO headquarters for more than 8 years. She is the technical coordinator of this German-funded project to develop nutrition guidelines and standards for school food. Moreover, she serves as the focal point for FAO's School Food and Nutrition Task Force, working to develop a global action plan to put FAO's corporate school food and nutrition framework into action. I will hand it over to both of you to tell us a little bit more about the features of the hub.
Thank you very much, Sarah. While we wait for the slides to be put up. Okay, great. Thank you very much. Well, first of all, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all. Very happy to be here with you today and give you an overview of the Knowledge Hub. Before we start, I think it's important that we frame the Knowledge Hub within the project. And Fatima already gave a few glimpses of what the project is, but I'm happy to give a little bit more information on this. The project entitled School Food Nutrition Guidelines and Standards for Safeguarding Children and Adolescents' Right to Food really respond to a challenge, as Fatima has highlighted, faced by many governments when implementing nutritious school meals program. And that is the lack of national nutrition guidelines and standards. And such a process is really resource intensive And it requires technical capacities, it requires numerous consultations and coordination with a wide range of actors from different sectors, and therefore is often not carried out in many countries. If we can go to the next slide, please. By providing, the previous one, please. Sorry, thank you. By providing a global methodology which helps countries create these nutrition guidelines and standards, the 3-year project is aiming at supporting the improvement of quality, quantity, but also adequacy of nutritious school meals. The methodology will be piloted in 2 countries, Cambodia and Ghana, as mentioned previously, by local actors. And it's really meant to gather feedback on the methodology and on the process, but then to be adjusted and finalized through a series of regional and global workshops. 5 outputs are meant to be delivered with this project, which includes stakeholder institutional mappings, capacity needs assessment, the development of the methodology itself, and as well as series of activities both at the country and global level to reinforce the global dialogue around the need, the priority, but also the potential of system-based nutrition guidelines and standards. And this is under this output that the Knowledge Hub falls. Next slide, please. The 2 mutually reinforcing outcomes of this project aim on one side to improve children's diet through nutritious school meals, but also on the adoption of healthy food habits, while at the same time making sure that we are enhancing the legal recognition and the awareness of children's right to food. Next slide, please. As mentioned previously, the project is funded by the Federal Ministry of Agriculture from Germany, led by FAO in strong collaboration with WFP, but there is also a series of stakeholders which have been called upon to contribute to the project. One group of stakeholders has been in a way setting up a consultative group with UN and international agency representative to ensure that not only the methodology, but also the related activities and the process are of high quality and applicable to various contexts. In addition, national stakeholders from relevant public institutions, as well as school children, adolescents, caregivers, and school staff will be called upon to provide their expertise and also their perspective to ensure that the approach, the methodology, and the activities are comprehensive and coherent. Next slide, please. So within this framework of the Nutrition Guidelines and Standard Project, the Global Online Knowledge Hub was born and was built around a series of objectives which really aim to enhance the dialogue around the need and the potential for nutrition guidelines and standards to design healthy and nutritious school meals, to support the dissemination and the uptake of the methodology, to stimulate the involvement and participation of stakeholders through different interactive features, which we will see in a few minutes, such as the Youth Corner. But also, as I think very well highlighted by previous speakers, to become an exchange platform. If you can go to the next slide, next slide, please. Thank you. Then this platform is really meant to target the needs of various groups, of various users, and that includes practitioners, policymakers, school children and adolescents, as well as school food implementers, researchers, and UN agencies and international organizations. Ultimately, the hub is seeking to serve as a global repository for countries and for all these target users to be able to share their experiences, policies, but also legal instruments related to school food nutrition guidelines and standards. If we can go to the next slide, please. But setting up, as you must anticipate, setting up the Knowledge Hub has taken a number of required steps, including the definition of the target audience, an assessment of the needs of this target audience to be addressed, looking at existing platforms and relevant networks that could be built upon. Of course, through the consultative group, a number of discussions and dialogue has been happening to ensure the usefulness of the Knowledge Hub, of its features as well, coming up with mock-up And of course, building the actual database through key informant interviews and country consultations. And so we will look at how the Knowledge Hub looks right now, and I will hand over to Melissa for a demonstration. Over to you, Melissa.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Michelle. I will now share my screen. Okay, so I'm very excited to show this hub. I think before I start, this really has been a labor of love, and it has been a great team behind it. And I want to take the opportunity to thank the colleagues that work on this hub and have conducted the interviews with the countries and have worked very hard to communicate. My colleague Dario, my colleague Marta, also Christina, Pamela, Judith, who have been involved in one way or the other for this hub. So this is the main page, and basically you will find here all the information that about an explanation of the hub and a focus on things that may be new, maybe are important for the users to take a look at first glance. We have here the main menus, and each section we constructed each section of this hub with a target audience in mind. So here in About, you will find all the information about how the hub was created, what is the project that is financing it, and how it was conceived in the first place. You will find also the voices of several of our partners on how they see the potential of this hub, and as well how their work links to this hub and how we can use it to capitalize and to scale up their work. This is a very interesting section. This is the section what we call Around the World, and this is our country database. We have been conducting a lot of key informant interviews, and we will continue this process for all 2022 and 2023 and beyond, we hope. And we have it organized by regions, and we want to show you how the process has been. So I want to show you one of the countries. This is the regional pages, and we will of course be building it up, and you can find regional publications and all the links to each country. So this is what a country page looks like. And at the moment, as Fatima mentioned, we are collecting process information. We are collecting qualitative information about what is the quality of school food in the different countries. For instance, we have a descriptions of if there are school meals programs, but also we have a description of the types of school food that children have available in the countries, if there are vendors inside the schools, if it's more common that they bring packed lunches, what type of canteens, stock shops exist, informal and formal vendors. We have a description of basically what is the picture, the general picture of the school food in the countries. We also have our detail in here is asking about processes that the countries have taken for designing nutrition standards for their school meals and for their other aspects of school food. For instance, if they have policies regulating the food that is sold and promoted and available inside and outside the school, we of course try to describe what the process was. So for instance, this is one of the examples. And we are also having the links to the policies and the actual technical documents where these standards or guidelines are hosted. We also have a section, as it was mentioned before, on food education. And here we are very happy because this was, as Fatima mentioned, this was information that was very difficult for us to try to understand what was happening. So here we are getting into what are really, which subjects is food and nutrition education integrated, who are the main educators, what types of topics and pedagogies are being used. We are also where we can link into the actual curriculum so everybody can see the different ways that food and nutrition education is being delivered on the different countries around the world. We have also where we can have aspects of monitoring and evaluation of implementation. So what we are doing here is collecting qualitative process-based information. We are linking up with different global surveys that are collecting quantitative information, such as the Global Child Survey, the Global Child Nutrition Foundation survey that is being conducted every 2 years. And we are going from there. We are linking to that, and we're linking to all other surveys or quantitative information that we can find, and we are expanding on the process of how countries reach to those indicators. In some cases, we are even receiving very nice illustrative information about the school level work, where we actually want to see the implementation of this. We want to see what the trainings for the cooks are. We want to see how the children learn. We want to, this is very enriching, because we're going from very high level policy enabling information to really the implementation part. Okay, so this is around the world, and this section is has been considered for practitioners, program planners, school level actors, also to many times we see that it's difficult for countries to that they have nutrition guidelines, but it's not reaching all schools in the country, where we can also support on that, to support the dissemination of that these guidance exists, to enhance actually the implementation. And this is also good for researchers to see what is happening on a more qualitative and deep and in-depth level. The next section, we call it the Countries Corner. And the Countries Corner, as it was mentioned before, we have the linkages to the technical regional exchange networks that exist at the moment. We have one in Latin America that one of our guests will talk about later. And of course, our moderator is also supporting the other one. But we, as regional networks happen, we want to link to them, and not only link to them, we want to support facilitating inter-regional or trans-regional discussions, because we know that there is so much richness happening at the regional level that we want to enhance this discussion and maybe even facilitate it. We also have the section on good practices and case studies, and we have created these categories, but of course we are here today to hear you and to share with you and to get your feedback. If we need to expand this, for instance, to have on the part of school meals, for instance, we have all aspects of school meal programs, including gastronomy, including procurement, including linking up with smallholder farmers, but we are very excited also to see and work together with the research consortium, where they are also putting together case studies, where we hope that we can feature them here as well. So we are open to any suggestions that you have, if we're missing categories, if there are case studies or best practices that are very well documented that we have not already identified here. And then we will have the peer-to-peer space, and we purposefully have this space, and we are dedicating this space for you. So this, the rest of 2022, we are dedicating to hearing your voices. Today we will start a little bit, but we are going to launch specific surveys or polls, and we want to hear from you. What is the best channel for you? Do you think it's easier to host forum discussions hosted in the hub, or linking up with other forum discussions, perhaps in more well-known forums? Do you want to link to social media discussions that are perhaps easier? Do you want to have very simple surveys? What type of exchange do you need? What regularity do you need? We don't want to have just a regularity because we want to tick a box, but we really want to do it whenever you need it. For the other initiatives of the coalition, we want you to also tell us when you need consultation, so we can facilitate this from you. What we want is to really be a hub, so we can all support each other. So if you want to have your say, we have prepared a survey, which we will be open for the 2022, and we will also have a poll today and some other aspects where we can hear your voices. This is very exciting as well. We have a youth corner where we hope that we are going to get school children and adolescents' voices, not only because it's the right thing to do, but also because we really, in this project, we were struggling on how we can get feedback directly from them. We know that there are many good youth advocates in the world, but we are not really reaching all the school children, all the most vulnerables. How can we hear their voices? So we have thought about social media, on how we can, through a hashtag, hear what they are thinking, different social media cards that they can share. We also have open up calls and contests from children themselves to send us what they think, not organized by a teacher, because sometimes it's they want to hear a certain thing, but really from themselves. What is it that they need? What are their perceptions of it, of their school food? For instance, now gastronomy, taste, enjoyment, acceptability, social justice. These are topics that children are very involved with, and they need to be. So we want to capture them here, also not only because it's nice, but also for informing our work. So we will host stories and receive photos from school children and adolescents, and we have a series of events planned during this and the upcoming years. The news and events is a very classical section. We will have, of course, news from different UN agencies all around the world. We're having articles as well from different UN agencies, and also technical webinars and other types of events that are from the other initiatives of the School Meals Coalition or from the regional networks. And then the last one is the technical resources, which is what we are targeting directly to researchers and to programmers and policy advisors. We have a section on publications that are regional and global, and they have guidance. It's all the guidance relating to school food and food education, and we, as Fatima was mentioning, hope to expand it to other aspects of school food and nutrition. So we have, again, different sections, and we have been trying to, let's say, research everything that is going on, and that we can support the dissemination of this guidance, also to avoid duplication of efforts as one of our principles in this hub. And we also have the sections on evidence. At the moment, we are collecting systematic reviews on the different areas of school-based food and nutrition education, all the aspects of school meals and school food environment policies and interventions, and you can have the latest systematic reviews here. So of course, as well, if you know of a major systematic review, meta-analysis happening, please let us know. And here it will be a space for us to have the methodology where we hope that we can make it interactive and very easy to use, and it can be used by the stakeholders in a very user-friendly way. So here it will be the space for the methodology. And now that I have presented the hub, I would like to give some space for two questions that we would want to hear from you. So Tomas, maybe we can launch the first poll question. Okay, so the first question is, what topic or theme or sub-theme would you like to exchange on with other countries? This, you can go ahead and select. These options are also in the survey that I mentioned that we will share with you very shortly, so you can include other ideas. And the second question that we would like to hear from you is, what format do you prefer, or do you think we are all extremely busy? There are many things happening. We don't want to overwhelm, but we really want to ensure that we are listening to your needs. What type of formats would you prefer to exchange on these topics? So maybe I give a few minutes. Okay, maybe Tomas, you let me know if we need another minute.
Yes, let's wait a bit because people are still voting. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. And I repeat again, this is the same questions that we have in the survey that will be open for the whole 2022. So if you don't have time now, or you want to think about it, or you want to have another category on it, you can do so in the survey. And we will also, we have it in English, but we will also have it in French and Spanish, and hopefully in other languages. Okay, maybe Tomas, we can share the
We are
results.
50% of participants have submitted the vote, so
Okay,
it'd be great if we wait 20 or 30 more seconds.
okay. And maybe while we wait, Dario, maybe you can also send the link of the hub in the chat so everybody can access it. Okay, maybe we can see the results now. Okay, well, a lot of interest in all the topics. That's great. Okay. Okay, this is very good. A lot of forum discussions hosted in the school on the School Food Hub, webinars. Okay. Okay, this is very interesting. School-based food and nutrition education got a lot of results. Okay, thank you very much, colleagues. We will collect this as well as the survey that we have. And lastly, I want to leave you with a Jamboard, which for those of you who are not familiar with it, it's you can have a post-it and you can see it here. And then you can write your messages, and we have 2 questions. You can do it now, you can do it later, it will stay open, but it will really help us. How do you think you can use this hub? And also, what do you think should be improved or integrated? You can leave us any message that you want. We are going to read them all, and we are going to hope that we can integrate them all. And I want to thank you again for being here, and we really hope that this hub is as useful for you as we believe, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Melissa and Michelle. You've provided such a comprehensive overview of the hub, excuse me, and it's exciting to see all of the features that are already in place, but also think about the potential for how this can continue to grow. And I think now that everyone's had a taster of what that hub looks like, I can imagine many of you are already looking forward to exploring that. Now that we have learnt about the hub and some of the features that are there already, it's time to move to some of your questions. So we do have a short period of time for some Q&A. So what we might do is look at the questions that we have got in our Q&A box with our speakers and go through as many of those as we can. Of course, if we don't get through all of those questions, please feel free to continue adding those, and we will ask our panel to go in and fill them in as much as possible as well. So I will just bring up our Q&A. And we do have several questions in here. Some have been answered if you haven't been keeping an eye on the Q&A box. But the first one to our speakers is a comment about speakers are mentioning and referring to the aim as healthy and nutritious school meals. In the wake of the Food System Summit, it's very important not to forget the other 2 sustainability pillars of sustainable school meals, the environmental sustainability and economic sustainability. Economical sustainability is covered by another initiative within the School Meals Coalition, but the environmental sustainability shines with its absence. In short, I'm missing the focus on environmental sustainability for school meals in conjunction with healthy and nutritional aims. Therefore, the question is, will this hub focus on sustainable meals from a holistic perspective? And I'm not sure if we have a particular panel member who would like to address that first. Melissa?
Yes, thank you very much for your question. And definitely, if you look at the page of the hub, we have our vision, and we want more sustainable school food as well. So we are, as I mentioned, we have at the moment in the country database, we have 2 main areas of focus. school food and food and nutrition education. In many countries where environmental sustainability is integrated and considered within the curriculum or within the standards of the school food, we are integrating that information. The broader project that this hub is part of has also one aspect, one of the objectives is to integrate environmental sustainability considerations in the methodology. So the methodology that we are designing is not a set of nutrition standards that will be global. We are designing the process, the how-to. Countries can have different data, including greenhouse gas emissions data whenever available, or other types of environmental data, resource use, that they can integrate into the methodology to make decisions about the nutrition guidelines and standards. We call them nutrition guidelines and standards because they have a priority for nutrition, but they are holistic. And you can read all about that in the project page. I can share with you the linkage. So definitely we are considering environmental sustainability. Of course, if we want one specific section that is more evident in the hub, we will definitely have this if it's important and not only integrated in the other sections that we have. So we are here to listen to you, to your needs, and we are in the phase of having the hub 2.0. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Melissa. We have another question here. It's building off another question that has been answered, but has there been discussion of including a data dashboard for select indicators and comparison with and across countries? We'll just see if
yes, we have our colleagues here, so maybe we can let Edward answer this one. What we are hoping is to support the results that are coming from that initiative. Thank you.
Great, thanks a lot, Melissa and Sarah, for that question. Indeed, the Data and Monitoring Initiative has three objectives that it's trying to solve. One, we know we don't have agreed upon indicators on school feeding, school meals, and the complementary activities, and the methodologies that are required on those indicators. So we have a steering committee that's working specifically on indicators and coming up with a core set of agreed upon indicators. In addition to that, we're trying to develop the processes that are necessary in terms of making sure that we have good data collection across countries, good validation and good reporting, and to have a UN single repository as a global database on school meals and complementary activities. As such, part of that database on school health and nutrition and school meals is to have this dashboard that the question is asking about, is to be able to compare data across indicators that have been agreed upon by countries and by the stakeholders. The stakeholders that make up the Data and Monitoring Initiative are intergovernmental agencies, governments, so governments as well as the African Union, regional bodies like ECOWAS, AUDA, etc. We also have the OECD. Then we have partners from academia, including the Research Consortium. We have partners from the NGO world and foundations like Rockefeller Foundation, and then we have the UN agencies. So this is a broad set of participants that are working on these indicators and the database that will then produce the quality data that's necessary, including this dynamic look at how we compare data across countries, how we compare data across indicators, etc., on school meals and complementary activities in health and nutrition. And as other speakers have asked, you add things like the environment and sustainability in terms of financing, etc. All that data is what will be captured here. So I hope I've answered the question. I'll stop here and go from there. Cheers.
Thank you very much, Edward, for that comprehensive response. I know we do have a couple more questions in the question and answer box, but we are going to move ahead, and I'll ask our panelists if they have the opportunity to go in there and provide some answers, that they could do that in the meantime. We are going to move on to hear from some more speakers about perspectives on use of the hub. So our first speaker in this session is Ms. Leela Stura. Thank you for joining us today, Leah. We're looking forward to your perspectives and comments about the hub, and please go ahead when you're ready.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. I'm very proud to be here to be part of the launching of the School Food Global Hub. As we all know, nutrition is a critical part of health and development, and better nutrition is related to improved infant, child, and maternal health, stronger immune system, safer pregnancy, lower risk of non-communicable diseases, and etc. Today, the world faces a double burden of malnutrition that includes both undernutrition and overnutrition and overweight and obesity, especially in low and middle income countries such as Georgia. As we all know, school children and adolescents need a good diet in order to grow, develop, be protected from the diseases, be physically active, and so on. And exactly, schools are the unique position to provide students with opportunities to learn about healthy behaviors and to practice healthy eating behaviors. Regarding my experience of being part of this project, in order to obtain information for school meals in Georgia, I was contacted by the FAO and WFP regarding their project, and the key aim of this project was to create global online knowledge hub, which is dedicated to food and food education in schools. I am head of non-communicable diseases department at the National Center for Disease Control and Public Health, and nutrition is under my supervision as well in the country, and my institution is the main public health institution of Georgia. At first, one of the main sections of this hub, as you know, comprise a country database. And we, at first step for developing this country database, identified the relevant focal points, and one of those focal points from Georgia was me. And I tried to provide all key information on the status of the efforts to improve the nutrition quality of school meals and other foods available in schools in Georgia. I attended the interview, tried to explain about Georgia's guidelines on healthy and safe meals at schools, recommended other experts to be involved, reviewed the profile, what is the quality of school food, and so on. Michelle and Melissa explained very nicely all the process of the data gathering. And I'm very proud that the content of School Food for Georgia is submitted to the FAO WFP repository website, and Georgia is one of the first countries to have a profile in this new hub. To share with you the situation in Georgia in brief, there is no national school meal program, unfortunately, in the country, and health and nutrition contents are transversally incorporated through different curriculum subjects such as natural sciences, biology, social sciences. Nutrition contents are also included in various extracurricular initiatives as well. Our main targets in Georgia are primary and secondary school children, their parents, their families, and main educator. We have teachers, parents, families, also school health personnel, non-governmental organizations, and we mostly address the relationship between diet and health, or diet and diseases, some food groups, food safety, hygiene aspects, and so on. And main common nutrition learning activities are discussions, which are school-based, class-based, basic nutrition facts quizzes, participation in advertising, posters, competitions, and so on. On the hub, you can also find information on school food in Georgia, different legislative documents, information on school-based food and nutrition education, how is monitoring, evaluation, implementation done, some guidelines, and so on. So the School Food Global Hub will allow countries such as Georgia and not only to share evidences, best practices, and lessons learned to enhance the global dialogue around the need and potential of improving the quality of school food and school food education, and therefore to strengthen school programs. It should be noted that nutrition education is not just learning about foods and nutrients, but learning what to do and how to act and to improve nutrition. It is exceptionally important to promoting lifelong healthy eating habits, to develop national guidelines for better diets and for better nutrition, and so on. And this hub really stimulates the environment and participation of school children and adolescents, which is of most importance in the process of improving the quality of their school food and food education. And also, the unique attribute of the hub is definitely the variety of users. It can be policymakers, researchers, school staff, non-governmental organizations, international organizations, parents, and so on. So we Georgians are very grateful to FAO and WFP to providing the opportunity to be part of the project, and do hope that our inputs will be a good resource for our mutual work and of high value amongst the school nutrition, food system, and health community in general. We're really looking forward to our future successful collaboration. Thank you, and over to you, Sarah.
Thank you very much, Leila, for your insights and sharing your experiences as part of the hub, but also the context of school food in Georgia at the moment. Our next speaker is Najla Velasco Sampaio Barbosa, and Najla has extensive experience as a teacher and manager in the field of education. She coordinated the project Educating with Pedagogical School Gardens in Brazil and has been working with the National School Feeding Program since 2005. She currently coordinates the project Consolidation of School Feeding Programs in Latin America and the Caribbean, along with the National Fund for Educational Development, the Brazilian Cooperation Agency, and FAO. Thank you, Najla, for joining us today, and please go ahead when you're ready.
Muy buenos dias, buenas noches, buenas tardes a todos e todas. É gosto estar aqui neste lançamento dessa importante iniciativa para toda a nossa região. E graças a todos por la invitação, PMA, FAO. E nós estamos com a intenção de mostrar pouco que nós hemos trabalhado com uma rede de alimentação escolar na América Latina e el Caribe, especialmente desde o ano 2018, pero desde o ano 2009, a cooperação Brasil e FAO han tomado iniciativas para fortalecer e consolidar os programas de alimentação escolar de América Latina e el Caribe. Eu tenho o gosto de haver trabalhado na coordenação desta cooperação e vou compartilhar com vocês esta inovação no sentido de buscar saber como nós podemos aportar nestas iniciativa atual de esta coalição. E aqui estamos, então, falando de la RAIS, que é acrônimo em espanhol de la Rede de Alimentação Escolar Sostenible. Esta rede é uma iniciativa do governo brasileiro, especialmente o FNDE e ABC, que são os órgãos rectores da alimentação escolar em Brasil, e que ha sido apoiada por la FAO, especialmente a Iniciativa Regional 1, que trata de sustentáveis sistemas alimentários, e por el projeto que se ha desenvolvido desde 2009, como eu lhes he mencionado. Esta rede tem uma mirada a partir de lo que se ha desenvolvido o programa de Brasil há mais ou menos 66 anos, que tem uma experiência muito grande na região, porque atende todos os dias a cerca de 41 milhões de estudantes, é quase a metade de lo que atendemos na região de América Latina e o Caribe, e por isso o governo ha puesto sua experiência à disposição do diálogo com os demais países da região por meio desta ação com a FAO desde 2009. E a rede significa uma resposta à década de nutrição e à segunda conferência de nutrição feita em 2014, onde o Brasil ha considerado que promover uma rede seria uma resposta considerável para gestionar as ações, conhecimentos, desenvolvimentos, demandas e necessidades dos países de nossa região. E o objetivo principal dessa rede ha sido reformular e melhorar a qualidade dos programas como políticas públicas e garantir a eles alguns aspectos principais, como os menus adequados, saudáveis, saborosos, e ações de educação alimentar e nutricional, e também fortalecer as compras públicas locais, que é um eje muito importante para garantizar as dietas saludáveis e enfrentar os problemas todos que nós aqui conhecemos. Que nós hemos avançado nessa região ao longo destes 13 anos de cooperação. Em primeiro, cambiamos o paradigma de alimentação escolar em la região, partindo de uma visão de proteção social solamente para uma visão de direito humano à alimentação adequada para todos os estudantes, buscando melhorar as institucionalidades desses programas a partir de marcos legais e também melhorando os investimentos, buscando ampliar os recursos para estes programas, fortalecendo também as estratégias de educação alimentar e nutricional e melhorando a qualidade metodológica e atuação destes programas na região. Então, desenvolvemos uma metodologia que chamamos de escolas sustentáveis, onde hemos ampliado o número de estudantes atendidos, com a perspectiva de que esta metodologia leve a um escalonamento em nível nacional de qualidade à política, tanto em termos de organização de programas, como também de institucionalidade e sustentabilidade política para os mesmos. Para esta rede, criamos uma plataforma que está em 3 idiomas, que tem este endereço, esta direção que vocês veem aí, e que é uma plataforma que busca reunir e promover ações de intercâmbio entre os países da região. Por ora, é uma plataforma regional, pero pode vir a ser também, quizás en el futuro, uma plataforma global. Allá também há várias partes onde se pode compartilhar experiências, documentos, vídeos, cursos, ações e diversas outras formas que nós, como rede, encontramos de fortalecer a los países, como por meio de suporte técnico, de intercâmbio de experiências, de visitas técnicas, de cursos de capacitação, de várias ações que nós hemos encontrado como forma de contribuir para a consolidação de los programas de alimentação escolar em la região. E como nós podemos contribuir com o Global Hub que estamos dialogando agora? Primeiro, aprendendo muito com tudo que vocês han aportado aqui e que nós hemos tentado desenvolver desde 2018. E também mostrando, levando tudo isso que vocês estão promovendo, que nós outros vamos promover e construir juntos a nossa região. Ao mesmo tempo, também compartilhando com vocês o que se ha produzido em nossa região para os demais países e quizás criar sinergias onde se pode melhorar a qualidade da alimentação escolar de todos nossos estudantes. Buscando também estabelecer e fortalecer cada vez mais as alianças e parcerias que temos, e em la prática, eu creio que é compartilhando as ações, as atividades, os eventos, as promoções de diálogo, tudo que hemos hecho para fortalecer a los países. Además, concluir felicitando a ustedes por esta iniciativa, dizendo que para nós outros conta muito tudo que se hace a nível global, porque os desafios de nossa região de América Latina e Caribe são muitos, mas os países são muito interessados, estão muito involucrados em sempre perfeccionar seus programas, e por isso eu creio que vamos ser muito beneficiados com toda esta rede global e queremos nos poner à disposição como Cooperação Brasil-FAO, como IR1, como FAO, para que tudo isto em nossa região seja muito concreto e que fortaleça também todo o diálogo em nível global. Por último, dizer a vocês que nós outros consideramos que quando trabalhamos juntos somos melhores e por isso agradecemos a todas as instituições brasileiras, a todos os países que han contribuído, a la FAO-SN, ao PMA e a todos nós outros que estamos nesta luta por garantizar que nossos estudantes tenham comidas saludáveis, uma dieta de verdade que vá facilitar o desenvolvimento social e cognitivo de todos eles. E para isso aqui estamos, e aqui estão nossas direções. Muchas gracias por la invitación y sigan por nosotros en nuestras redes para que también conozcan nuestro trabajo. Muchísimas gracias a todos.
Thank you very much, Nella, for your insights and sharing your experiences. We greatly appreciate your time to do that. Our next speaker is Mr. Samoy Bosanga, and Samoy, Administrator of Social Action, is a specialist in local development, conflict management, and school canteen management. He's the director of the National School Canteen Centre and is in charge of decision-making and coordination of the activities of this structure. Thank you for joining us today, Samoy, and please start when you're ready.
Merci, Madame Sarah. Bonjour, bonsoir à tous. Très heureux d'être parmi vous et de voir qu'une grande famille se constitue autour de l'alimentation scolaire, autour des repas scolaires, pour permettre aux enfants un accès équitable et un maintien durable à l'école pour le développement du pays, pour le développement de l'humanité tout entière. Et je vous entretiendrai avec les jardins scolaires, une expérience au Mali qui était beaucoup plus fréquente dans les années 90 jusqu'à la fin des années 90 et qui avait tendance à disparaître. Mais dans le cadre du projet de cantine scolaire endogène que le ministère de l'Éducation a initié pour les 5 prochaines années, beaucoup de ces jardins scolaires seront réhabilités. Ces jardins scolaires ont pour but essentiel de lier l'école à la vie, de faire en sorte que les jeunes apprenants dès leur bas âge aient un contact efficace avec le travail de la terre, avec les différents produits que nous consommons de façon locale, parce que vous savez, notre pays est très vaste et traversé par beaucoup de zones climatiques. Il y a différentes aires géographiques, climatiques et les traditions alimentaires sont différentes. Donc, dans chaque aire géographique du Mali, les jardins s'accommodent avec les traditions alimentaires de la zone en question. Donc, les jardins scolaires seront réhabilités dans ce cadre-là. Lier l'école à la vie, apprendre aux enfants d'abord l'utilité nutritionnelle de chaque plante, les faire participer, notamment lors des travaux pratiques de sciences d'observation, à l'identification des plantes, à leur utilité, et plus tard, vraiment leur donner l'envie de rester collés au travail de la terre pour produire eux-mêmes une fois étant adultes. Parce que, comme vous le savez, c'est vrai, nous avons des minéraux, nous avons de l'or, nous avons du lithium, nous avons du fer au Mali, mais notre principale richesse, c'est vraiment l'activité agro-pastorale. Mais malheureusement, ces dernières années, cette activité a été délaissée. Beaucoup de jeunes préfèrent abandonner l'école et prendre le chemin de l'immigration. Nous sommes un pays sahélien, nous sommes un pays où les guerres sont fréquentes, nous sommes un pays pauvre. Donc, alors que le travail de la terre offre beaucoup de potentialités. Nous avons beaucoup de terres arabes. Et au Mali, même 1% des terres arabes n'ont pas été encore mises en valeur. Donc, les jardins scolaires, au-delà de pouvoir attirer l'esprit de l'enfant sur le travail de la terre, contribuent aussi vraiment à l'approvisionnement des cantines scolaires. Parce que c'est les enfants, bien sûr encadrés, qui entretiennent le jardin, qui l'étudient, qui connaissent la valeur, l'utilité de chaque plante. Et lors de la récolte, les fruits du jardin serviront vraiment à contribuer à renforcer le menu de la cantine scolaire. Donc, ces jardins-là, nous avons un projet pilote où 700 de ces jardins verront bien sûr leur réalisation durant l'année 2023 et 2024 à travers tout le pays. Donc, je vous remercie pour votre aimable attention. On nous a donné 5 minutes, je pense que je les ai déjà épuisés et je suis disponible pour les questions éventuelles. Merci.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bosanga, for sharing your insights and experiences with us today. We're going to move to our final speaker now, who is Professor Donald Bundy. So thank you, Donald, for taking the time to join us today to also share your perspectives on the use of the hub. I'll pass over to you.
Don, you're muted.
Oh, okay. I'm not muted at this end. Okay, I'm not, you're muting me. You're muting me, I'm not muted at this end.
We can hear you now. We can hear you.
Okay. Just to be clear, it wasn't me that was muted, you were muting me, just so we're clear on that. Okay, I wanted to, so thank you, Sarah, for kindly introducing me, and thank you, FAO, the World Food Programme, and the government of Germany for this exciting, really new opportunity, and we can hear the buzz around this amongst the participants here today, and also in reading the chat. We heard earlier from Her Excellency Ambassador Tanya Gren, and also from Edward Lloyd Evans at the World Food Programme, about how a coalition had been created last year, a coalition of 67 member countries coming together to address the issues of school health and nutrition, and that coalition has created a research consortium to help with providing the evidence and support for this activity. And one of the messages I want to come across clearly with is that anyone who's on this call, who's interested in this area, you can have a look at the chat. I put how you can sign up to join the research consortium. But I'm going to just talk for a moment about what the research consortium does. If I could have the next slide, please. So this is working on behalf of the 67 countries. Our mandate is to do two things. First, to generate evidence on the effectiveness of school health and nutrition programs and make the case for investment. I've seen lots of questions in the chat about the cost people talking about the programs being expensive. This is the kind of questions we're absolutely addressing. And secondly, to look at how we use that information to give advice, to generate advice with policymakers in the countries of the coalition to develop their programs and to replace, in particular, to replace the programs that were closed as a result of the COVID pandemic. And if I could have the next slide, please. I just want to emphasize that the consortium, the research consortium, is a network of networks. It's an independent group, largely of academics, and also of research institutions across the world. We want you to join. So look at the chat. It shows you how to do that. But we also want to make it clear that we had this fantastic invitation from the heads of the 5 main UN agencies, from FAO and World Food Programme, but also from the World Health Organization, from UNESCO and UNICEF, to create this research consortium. So this is why it's a really global activity. If I have the next slide, please. And this is the structure of the consortium in a nutshell. So we've got the 67 countries. It is a great mixture of countries. 30 of them are from Africa. That includes the African Union. It includes the United States. It includes France. It includes China. It includes Cuba. It's a real mix of countries. You can look at all the list. I don't have time to go through all of the 67. We have a tiny secretariat that supports all of this activity. The business is actually being done by these 4 communities of practice. We may create more, but currently 4 communities of practice. The impact and evidence community of practice, the analytics and metrics that looks at value for money, the nutrition and indicators group, but very importantly, in reference to the Knowledge Hub, the Good Examples community of practice, which is led by France and Finland at the moment. But this is asking all the countries, all 67 of the countries, to develop case studies of their successes and indeed failures, that what they've learned from their experience of school meals programs. And I just want to say very specifically, this is the kind of information we would love to share, this kind of information via the new Knowledge Hub. This is a fantastic way for all of us to work together and share what we're doing. So I'm going to leave it at that, because I think we're really late in the day. And I just want to say, as I said, anyone who wants to sign up, if you look in the chat, you'll see how to do it. Thank you very much indeed. Back to you, Sarah.
Thank you, Donald, for that insight into the links between the School Meals Coalition and the Research Consortium, as well as the Global Hub. And again, to all of our speakers who have shared their expertise and time for this launch event. I think Donald's point about feeling a bit of a buzz in terms of the comments that are coming through and the questions, I think that's quite clear. We're all quite excited to see the School Food Global Hub up and running. And I think it's very clear, looking at that overview of what the hub includes, that it's really going to support and enhance our opportunities to share and learn from and with each other. I'm going to now pass to Nancy Alberto, the Deputy Director of the Food and Nutrition Division of FAO, who's going to provide our closing remarks.
Thank you, Sarah. Colleagues, friends, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to have the opportunity to provide some final words to finish up today's important event, this launch of the School Food Global Hub. On behalf of FAO, I want to thank everyone for their interest today. At one point, I saw that we had more than 200 people on the line, really showing how engaged a large group of people are in this topic. I want to thank sincerely our colleagues from WFP for their strong and faithful partnership in the work on the hub, but also all the work that they do in support of food and nutrition needs of school children around the world. I also want to thank the leadership and the generous financial support of Germany, particularly the German Federal Ministry of Food and Agriculture. Now, today's event introduced the Global Hub as a platform for peer-to-peer exchange. And we started out today with energy, hearing from lots of partners, including Mali, Brazil, and Georgia. And they shared with us some of the challenges and the successes of those countries in support to ensuring safe, healthy, and appropriate school meals for all of their children. So I thank you, colleagues, for those reflections, which I hope others found as inspiring and as I did. We also heard about how the Hub is part of, supports, and aligns with the Coalition for School Meals. And our final speaker, Professor Dawn Bunday, just reminded us of how this Hub and the Research Consortium for School Health and Nutrition also reinforce one another. We're all working towards the same objectives. So after all of these remarks, I'll just very quickly wrap us up with three main take-home messages. The first is, it is truly important for all of us to come together and share these experiences and knowledge among countries. And this Hub is a participatory effort. And that's why we really want to hear from you. You heard a call out from Melissa and from Michelle particularly about how they want to hear from you about this Hub. And the Hub is a work in progress. And we want your input, your thoughts, and your engagement so that we can co-create this to make it the most useful tool it can possibly be. And that brings us to my final remark. And that is that we all know our children are our most precious stakeholder, our most precious constituent, our most precious partner in this human experience. Our children are the future, and doing everything we can to ensure that they can reach their full potential must be our utmost priority. Now, helping children stay in school and have the food and nutrition that they need and the support that they need to establish healthy lifestyle choices and habits will help them lead full and fulfilling lives. And this indeed should be our goal. And we must all work together to make that happy and healthy future for all of our children and all children everywhere a reality. And today we came together to talk about this Hub. We talked about our larger initiatives in this space, and I really look forward to continuing this effort as we're putting boots on the ground and making this happen. So thank you, Sarah. Thank you all for coming today, and I wish you all a lovely afternoon.